Coming up on this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News with Alaina Pinto, VP Kamala Harris comes out for full legalization and regulation of cannabis while playing the race, gender, and weed card, while the former president, named Trump, aligns with his state of Florida's Yes on 3 adult use ballot question.
It's got to be done in a very concerted, lawful way, and the way they're doing it in Florida, it's going to be very good.
A shootout in a dispensary in Oregon ends up with 2 deaths and a double murder charge for the dispensary's employee who did the shooting while claiming self-defense. California recalls the entire Kush collective brand and pulls the cannabis company's license. And the governor, Gavin Newsom's emergency ban of hemp-derived products in his state starts with a seizure of 700 products by the Alcohol Beverage Control Board. And how much product was the group who created the Starbuds logo in New York using when they created the logo that was a direct copy of Starbucks logo? Now a judge calls out the obvious copyright infringement. And guess who was at the Today Show weather board? Yep, that's Snoop Dogg with the forecast from Pottstown, PA to Mary Jane Falls in Nevada. Just another week of news on Cannabis Coast to Coast News with Alaina Pinto. Next!
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another weekly edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, Pro Cannabis Media's roundup of what is going on in the cannabis industry. I'm Alaina Pinto. With just under 3 weeks to go before the presidential election, both candidates are spending most of their time in so-called swing states, and their policies on cannabis are being talked about. Right now, VP Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are in a dead heat, according to the latest polls, especially if you consider the margin of error. Both candidates have used the cannabis issue to attract some of 70% of adults who want to see it legalized. Even though he's been a little late to embrace the plant, Donald Trump did appear in an advertisement restating his position as a Florida resident that he intends to vote yes on question 3 that would legalize adult use of cannabis there. Kamala Harris, in the meantime, continues to talk about her plan and ideas on legalization. Here's a clip from the latest advertisement from the Smart and Safe Florida Yes on 3 campaign that has dropped over $100 million in Florida media.
President Trump endorses Amendment 3, saying, as a Floridian, I'll be voting yes on Amendment 3.
It's got to be a certain age. It's got to be done in a very concerted, lawful way, and the way they're doing it in Florida, it's going to be very good.
Amendment 3 legalizes marijuana for adults, safe, lab-tested, and regulated, generating billions for schools and law enforcement. Join President Donald Trump. Vote yes on Amendment 3.
The way they're doing it in Florida, it's going to be very good.
The vice president outlined her ideas this week, and our Washington, D.C. reporter Andrew Behringer takes a look at the not-so-subtle differences between the two candidates.
I'm Andrew Behringer with the Washington, D.C. report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. In a shift in the 2024 presidential race, cannabis legalization has become a topic of conversation, with both major candidates throwing their support behind cannabis reform. Vice President Kamala Harris has unveiled a bold policy agenda pledging to legalize cannabis at the federal level if elected. Her campaign promises to work with Congress to make sure that the safe cultivation, distribution, and possession of adult use cannabis is legal nationwide. This move aligns with the Biden administration's previous actions in 2022, which included pardoning low-level federal cannabis offenders and initiating cannabis rescheduling. Former President Donald Trump has also expressed support for cannabis reform. Trump recently endorsed Amendment Number 3, a Florida ballot initiative to legalize cannabis, in a new campaign ad. This campaign ad shows Trump discussing the measure during a podcast, stating it will be very good for Florida. He emphasizes the importance of age restrictions and proper regulation. The bipartisan nature of this issue is now evident, with both Harris and Trump backing cannabis legalization at different levels. This unexpected alignment could suggest that the federal cannabis policy may be on the brink of substantial change, regardless of the election's outcome. That does not mean you can't go and vote. Well, that's going to do it for me in the Washington, D.C. report. I'm Andrew Behringer reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Before we leave the nation's capital, the U.S. Supreme Court is hearing a case about a trucker who was fired for testing positive for THC, even though the products he bought claimed they were free from THC. The plaintiff is a commercial trucker from New York named Doug Horn. He claims he had never used cannabis, but after purchasing a CBD tincture called Dixie X-Way back in 2012, he tested positive for the intoxicating cannabinoid THC. When Horn bought the tincture, he was recovering from a work-related accident. And now, because this is a wrongful termination lawsuit, Horn is seeking triple damages and is being represented by Medical Marijuana Inc. There are many eyes watching the result of this case and its impact on other employees who have lost jobs because of false positive drug tests caused by the lack of regulation and testing for many CBD products. Our next story is a very disturbing one because once again, it puts the focus on the public safety issue in the all-cash cannabis industry. Lawmakers continue to drag their feet and ignore the many efforts to get safe banking through Congress. And now a crime in Oregon is once again highlighting the dangers of limiting licensed operators to all cash interactions and transactions. In Oregon, a botched robbery ended up with the killing of 2 perpetrators at the hands of a dispensary worker. Here's Marianne Cursetjee with more from her state.
I'm Marianne from Alibi with the Oregon Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Oregon-based dispensary chain LaModa is again in the news. Security at dispensaries has been a problem in Portland for years. Additionally, federal law restricts concealed carry for those who consume cannabis, although this has been challenged in court and the rules may be evolving. According to Portland police, 3 individuals were committing armed robbery at a LaModa dispensary around 10 p.m. The solo bud tender was working in the back, heard noises, and confronted the robbers. The bud tender then retrieved his weapon and left the store. He then fired on the robbers through the window, killing 2 of them. Murder charges have been filed against the bud tender. And next, Oregon-based Wild continues its market domination. MJ Biz Daily reports that Wild is the top-selling brand in more than half of adult-use markets. Their recognizable packaging and consistent flavor and effects have created a true national brand. Given the supply chain complexity in a state-regulated industry, this is phenomenal. That's the Oregon Cannabis Report. I'm Marianne with Alibi for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
There are many states that are watching the impact of California Governor Gavin Newsom's decision to shut down the sale of intoxicating hemp products in his state. None more interested than the state that might have the most active market of hemp-derived products, the Lone Star State of Texas. Here's Lisa Williams in Dallas, where decriminalization is on the ballot. And now, while Nelson, one of the true legends of music in America and cannabis advocates, is campaigning for the Democratic opponent, Colin Allred, in the battle for Ted Cruz's seat in the Senate.
I'm Lisa Williams, bringing you the Texas Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. All right, y'all, grab your hats because Texas legend Willie Nelson is back in the spotlight. And nope, it's not for another country hit. This time, Willie's lending his iconic voice to the fight for cannabis reform, endorsing Dallas's proposition which aims to decriminalize marijuana possession. Willie's been riding this cause for years, and now he's calling on Dallas voters to make history at the ballot box come November. Marijuana is an herb and a flower, not a crime, Willie said, and he threw his support behind the Ground Game Texas, a group leading this local decriminalization effort. This proposition would put an end to low-level marijuana possession charges in Dallas, which is an issue close to Willie's heart. He's had his own run-ins with Texas's harsh marijuana laws. And let's just say he knows firsthand how disruptive a single possession charge can be. But this isn't just about Dallas. Across Texas, cities like Austin, Denton, and San Marcos have already passed similar measures. However, the battle for decriminalization has been bumpy, with state officials, including Texas Governor Greg Abbott, pushing back against local efforts, arguing that cities can't override state law. Even so, the momentum for reform is growing, and Willie's latest push could tip the scales for the Dallas voters. And it's not just decriminalization on the line. A new report criticizes Texas' medical marijuana program, calling it barely sufficient, with just 3 dispensaries serving the entire state. Of too few doctors able to prescribe medical cannabis, many patients are being left out. Meanwhile, 73% of Texans say they support either full legalization or decriminalization, showing that the public is ready for broader reform, but lawmakers seem to be dragging their boots. Willie's not having any of it. His Teapot Party, founded in 2010, has been pushing for cannabis to be legalized, taxed, and regulated. And his latest endorsement of Proposition R is a rally cry for Texans to vote for change. So come November, you could bet Willie, along with countless others, will be watching closely to see if Dallas steps up to the plate. Y'all, it's more than just about weed. It's about fairness, freedom, and the future of cannabis in Texas. So get out there and vote, as Willie says. It's high time we stop treating this flower like a crime. I'm Lisa Williams, founder of the Toke Agency, bringing you the Texas Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
In Michigan, sales continue to slide now that Ohio is open for adult use. In September, total sales dropped to just under $267 million, and that total is about 10% below the record set in August for sales in Michigan of $295 million. Prices are still slipping as the market adjusts to neighboring states' impact on the Michigan market. Now, when it comes to the developments in Michigan cannabis business market, the founder of the Michigan Weedsters, Amy Carter, is right in the middle of it. Amy is a passionate advocate for allowing young people who rely on the plant medicine to have access to it during the school day. This is something that literally strikes home with her and her 17-year-old son, Jaden, who are fighting for the rights of others with similar challenges in the Michigan legislature. This week, results from a major study on the impact of CBD on autism backs up the results Amy has found with her own son. Here's our Michigan correspondent, Amy Carter.
I'm Amy Carter from Michigan Weedsters with this week's Coast to Coast News. I was very happy to read the study. I am not surprised at all. It has helped my son so much. He started cannabis when he was just 9 years old. It has helped in so many different ways with his anxiety, it stabilizes his mood, it helps with his nausea and headaches, it's enhanced his creativity, it's made him more self-aware. And he has hit milestones that I honestly never thought he would hit. It completely changed his life, and he is no longer violent and aggressive. If you want to learn more about our journey, you can go to YouTube and search Grassroots Movement, or you can purchase a copy of Courage in Cannabis, which is sold on Amazon. And it is a great collection of different authors that have shared their journey on how cannabis helped them. I'm Amy Carter with Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
This is why you need to hear these stories. They might just change your life. Meet Dr. Bridget Williams, an award-winning physician, entrepreneur, and author. She's back with Courage in Cannabis Volume 2, The Triumphant Stories. This anthology features 39 brave authors who share how cannabis transformed their lives. You'll hear from people like Adam Wilkes, CEO of Tyson 2.0, who grew up in a pre-legal world, and that's just the beginning. From overcoming addiction and trauma to managing diabetes and autism, these stories will open your eyes. They even touch on brain injuries, entrepreneurship, and athletics. Have you ever wondered about the real impact of cannabis? This book has the answers. And wait, there's more. Sparks, short, powerful testimonies and quotes from industry influencers like Ed Rosenthal, Jane West, and even Mike Tyson. Each story will challenge your assumptions and enlighten your perspective. Don't miss Amy Carter's heartfelt story on how cannabis changed her son's life. Ready to be inspired? Get your copy of Courage in Cannabis Volume 2 today on Amazon, because the power is in the stories.
That'll do it for the A block, or first part of our weekly Cannabis Coast to Coast news. In our next section, we will take a look at what's going on in California, where their governor's emergency ban on hemp products is causing an industry meltdown, as that state's Alcoholic Beverage Commission removes hundreds of items deemed to be unlicensed and unregulated. That and Al Roker and Snoop Dogg team up for a weather report on the Today Show.
Ready to take your craft to the next level? Imagine faster extractions, purer products, and more profits. Sounds good, right? At Pure 5 Extraction, we've revolutionized cannabis extraction with our game-changing technology. No solvents, no heat, just the cleanest, most natural process on the market. Whether you're a boutique grower or a large-scale operation, Pure 5 has the tools to elevate your business worldwide. Visit pure5extraction.com today. Pure 5 Extraction, because your plants deserve the best.
I think I messed up. Did you know there's a place that covers all the cannabis news you need? Welcome to Pro Cannabis Media, your go-to for all things cannabis. PCM is the CNBC of weed, bringing you the latest news and talk shows with a twist. We've got 16 state correspondents and multimedia journalists from around the US and Canada. It all started back in 2018 when founder Jimmy Young kicked off the In the Weeds podcast. His mission? Documenting the fight to end cannabis prohibition. Fast forward to today, and we've got Cannabis Coast to Coast with Alaina Pinto delivering the nation's only TV-style cannabis news show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly roundup of the news from the industry. I'm Alaina Pinto.
As of August 2024, PCM has racked up over 1.2 million views and 14.5 million impressions on our YouTube channel. With 15,000 subscribers and growing, our reach is spreading like wildfire. Cannabis Coast to Coast News, hosted by Alaina Pinto, features insights, interviews, and fresh perspectives from our network of 16 correspondents. It's your weekly dose of professional cannabis news straight from the experts. So, where can you catch all this awesome content? PCM's website, YouTube, Rumble, Discord, Roku, Twitch, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and even our very own PCM TV app. We've got over 1,000 videos in our archive, so there's always something new to watch.